There. I can barely even notice it.
Okay. Reverend Jackson, Dr. King turned up for the Memphis sanitation workers. You're here for the public workers in Madison. Why are civil rights leaders constantly hanging out with public employees, and why is the right constantly going after those public unions?
Because economic justice is a civil right. People ought to work and ought to get paid when they work and ought to have security when they work and ought to have pensions for their future when they work. And what labor has done has been the balancing wheel between labor, business, and government. You remove labor, then there is no protection for the working people of America. And so I am astonished at how we have come full circle now, giving unlimited subsidy for the wealthiest Americans and scapegoating teachers and crushing workers.
Why public employees first?
Well, because they're vulnerable, because they're in the political sphere. A given governor can attack those who work directly for him or her in the first place. But the workers are coming alive and fighting back. Workers have retreated for too long from their basic right to survive. I'm impressed with the fact that the police and firemen in Wisconsin who voted for Governor Walker now know that they made a mistake and they're standing with teachers because they know as public workers they are next. Every city I visit, I see this attack at several levels. One, we're cutting public transportation, laying off public workers, raising fares and cutting services. With the home foreclosure crisis, you remove homes and with them go to tax base, you lay off police and teachers and firemen. The federal government pass on unfunded mandates to states, they pass it on to cities and then to workers. So in this deal, the wealthiest Americans have been wallowing in $2 trillion in cash subsidized by the government. And workers are taking the hit, and workers here are fighting back in Wisconsin. And I think the workers in Ohio and around the country are going to catch that same fighting spirit.
We're here at East High. You talked a bit about the cycle of despair for young people in America today. What's the relationship between getting out in the streets and protesting in a situation like this and that cycle of despair?
You know, Jessica Lynch, who was from Appalachia, one of the first women captured in the war, from West Virginia, a diligent young student who came out of school, was unable to find a job, and couldn't afford to go to college, so she ended up in the military in a kind of backdoor draft. So many of our people in the military today, they are poor. But their life options are reduced to go into the military. Others come out of school with these huge student loan debts, with a guaranteed debt without a guaranteed job. Student loan debt is now greater than credit card debt, for example. Even when we bail out the bankers were getting zero interest money, charging a fee for free money. And so they made money from every conceivable angle. And I was astonished at why for so long there was such silence. And I think in a strange way, the spirit of Egypt now is upon America. People say, if Egypt can do that nonviolently, not the Libya way, but nonviolently, we can do it too. And the irony of that is Egypt is, in fact, imitating what we did. They tried terrorism in the Middle East. Terrorism didn't work. They tried secular violence. That didn't work. They tried religious, one against the other. That didn't work. But massive, nonviolent, disciplined action with shared values works.
What is it going to take here next? The legislature goes back into session today as we're speaking here in Madison. It's quite possible that what the governor has in store will pass. He has the votes. How can this movement in the streets change the reality? In Egypt, they got rid of the president, but that took 18 days and a whole lot of history before that.
Bigger demonstrations of longer duration, maybe even civil disobedience. It's not going to be limited, I might add, to Wisconsin. Wisconsin need not bear this cross alone. It's coming to Ohio. It's coming to Indiana. There is the notion that workers can, on the one hand, supply the votes to elect politicians and then be the first one slapped in the face upon the election. And workers should not live under that contradiction any longer. We've never fought a battle that we lost. I never lost a battle unless we fought. So when workers come alive, and even non-union workers benefit from union workers' strikes. When union workers fight back, what are they fighting for? They're fighting for benefits. They're fighting for protected pensions. They're fighting for workplace safety. They're fighting for the right to have enough money to buy a house. So workers' values who are organized help those who are not organized. And even private sector workers must know if they can bust a teachers union, this ideology where the roof is off for the wealthy and the middle class sinks and there is no bottom for the poor, that's not the America of our dreams. We deserve better.
Where do you go next?
Well, we're going to work more diligently in Wisconsin. I really do think that there's a spirit here, given this history of racial, of social justice and labor rights, to fight back. We're going to Ohio next, and we're going to Indiana. And then we want to mobilize, since we see the pattern now, to convene workers from the affected states. And begin to start having state demonstrations all over America, and then ultimately a major march for workers' rights in Washington. Ultimately, workers must rise up and put forth on the national agenda. In our silence, the Tea Party emerged. In our silence, Democrats backtracked. But when we act, we in fact influence the climate for the better.
We'll be there. GRITtv will be there. Jesse Jackson, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you. Cut or a few shots for me. So from here to Ohio to Indiana.
How long you be here?
Well, I go back supposedly today, but I wasn't supposed to be here anyway, so anything could happen.
I'm running a plane because I couldn't get. We're gonna fly me up the phone.
You betcha. Hey there. Better than driving through the white.
Let's see, we're going from here to Chicago or something. So this is gonna take a. It's a little expensive for 8,000, but it's just worth it.
When are you leaving?
Probably after the noontime thing.
All right, so how do I stay in touch? You're going to be against the light. Go from that side.
I'm unplugging your mic.
This is what democracy looks like.
Coming straight up to East High School, one of Madison's big high schools. These are some of the...
Going into your class at the same time. Take your application with your students. Seniors, come on down. Come on up here.